Hi everybody, Matthew with Parkway Business Solutions. During today's video, we're going to share something a little bit different than normal. Today in our Facebook group, QB Community Live, we brought on a couple different individuals that have all been researching and heavily involved around, well, the research for the EIDL loan and the PPP. And the goal was to open up a live Q&A through Zoom and through our Facebook group for people that they could ask their questions and try to help provide them answers from not just me, but other people. So the format of this video is different than normal, but if you have different questions, it definitely would be worth watching. But please, I hope you enjoy this video from QB Community Live as we discuss the EIDL and PPP loan application process. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for getting back to me this morning, Nellie.
Oh, my pleasure, of course.
You guys know each other? What?
Yes, it's a small world, isn't it?
So cool.
You guys are like neighbors, aren't you?
Yeah.
No, but she never comes to my barbecues or anything. What's up with that?
You've never invited me.
Oh, that's probably why. Okay.
Invite me and I'll be there.
Matt, you're in California, right? You did something at CSUCI that I missed, right?
Yeah, I'm in Camarillo, California. But guess what?
Right.
Well, then shame on you because we're really close.
I know. Well, we are now live on Facebook and our group. So thank you very much. Linda, thank you again. We're going to be bringing people in. If you want to come on video, you're welcome to, of course. Just be sure to kind of raise your hand so we know to do so. There are a couple rules to this one day. I don't like a lot of rules, but I'm going to put a couple in place. Number one rule is no hearsay. If it's an opinion, all I ask is that you actually just state that it's your opinion, your actual reading of whatever it is. Okay. Number two, don't worry. I'm going to make sure each person has the opportunity to truly actually you'll get to talk about the things you're doing to help other people at the end. So we'll make sure people know about that, of course. And then we're all here to collaborate, communicate. I want this to be a clean environment where it's clean data so we can help the most people possible. So I really, really appreciate that. And then for everybody that's out there watching, we are watching the questions on Facebook and of course in Zoom. So if you don't want to be like seen, that's cool. But put your questions in. The whole purpose of this is to try to make sure that people can get useful information. And Diane, I'm going to mute you real quick because I think it's got feedback noise. Okay. If you can just kind of like wave at me and I can unmute you if you need to. So did that fix it?
It did.
Awesome. So on that, let me start this over and go, hello, Linda.
Hello, Matthew.
All right. Gotta have some fun. So again, thank you guys. Appreciate it. Now, let's see what we've got for question wise. We've got plenty of information we can talk about. And the biggest question, I don't want to just go through a full presentation like we've done before. So if you've got a question, folks, post it. Otherwise, I'm going to actually ask Nellie, if you can start us off with just kind of a quick overview of your experience with this so far, with like, you choose one, the PPP or the EIDL, if you don't mind.
Okay, so good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. My name is Nellie Akalp, CEO and founder of corpnet.com. I'm an entrepreneur, small business expert, and I specialize in assisting entrepreneurs, small business owners, accountants, CPAs, legal tax professionals with anything and everything that surrounds small business. With respect to this COVID-19 relief that's out there, what we've been experiencing as a small business is that there is a lot of misguidance out there. There's a lot of conflicting information. There's a lot of inaccuracies, and there's a lot of doubt out there. And people need our help. People need help, accurate information guidance. And we actually came out and launched our COVID-19 relief a couple of days ago, and we've gone live with order forms, but for my purposes of being on this Facebook Live, which I was just told about 5 minutes ago, and I'm so happy that you guys gave me the opportunity to be on this Facebook Live with you, is that I just want to be a helpful resource to small business owners and really give you guys the correct information. And the reason why is because there is a lot of misinformation out there and a lot of misguided information. People are under a time constraint. They have to submit these applications for any type of loan assistance that they want by June 30th. They need to have certain documentation in order, and they're getting wrong information. And I want to be that person out there that really is there, and along with our company CorpNet, to be a good resource and a plethora of accurate information for our clients.
Awesome. Thank you very, very much. Now, Diane, I'm going to unmute you to make it easier for you.
Thank you.
If you can now also, both of you were actually very active and you've been trying to help feed information to the group, is why I asked for both of you to introduce yourself first. And Diane and I actually had some conversations earlier, I think it was last week, just kind of discussing the current state of business and this whole process. And I know that she's been putting a lot of time and energy into being knowledgeable about this as well. So, if there's one area of this whole process, what area have you been focusing on most? Can you really help people? I know California specifically, right?
Yes, I'm in California. I'm Diane Letelier. I am a QuickBooks guru. I've been in business for about 25 years now. Most recently, because of the virus situation, and I've gleaned a lot of knowledge about the different EIDL programs, as well as unemployed self-employment filing, and this most recent PPP that keeps morphing and more information is being revealed as we speak. I've studied all the different forms, and I've helped several clients comply and fill out information and just keep collecting it until we submit it in certain areas, as well as the $10,000 grant. But I agree with Nellie. There's a lot of misinformation out there. SBA's website, even the disaster area, so to speak, no pun intended, is
The disaster?
It's a little confusing because there are business forms to be filled out for their regular loans, as well as a link for this grant, which appears to be a loan, but it's really not. It's just a grant. I've dealt with a lot of people who are very confused with the EDD or the unemployment insurance filings for their state, being self-employed. I did speak to someone today at EDD up in Santa Barbara who is very, very knowledgeable about the process and what's to come, and try to ease people's minds. I've been following EDD on Twitter, who've been getting a lot of complaints from independent contractors, and they're
Okay.
all the states are waiting for funding right now from the disaster unemployment assistance. So I'm just telling my clients and my colleagues to just sit tight if they're self-employed, and helping with that process, because it's hard to walk people through filing self-employed if you're filing unemployment. It's like not a normal thing that people do.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Now, so Greg, I'm going to have you come up next real quick here. And Greg has been very helpful to me behind the scenes, like bouncing ideas back and forth. We actually pulled up the initial bill quite a bit. So I appreciate you being on here as well, Greg. Why don't you tell a little bit about yourself also?
So I am muddling through this like all the rest of us on this call, and just trying to piece together information from obviously using the bill as our true north of what's really going on. But then just realizing that now that it's being passed over to the lending institutions, each one of them are likely going to have differing application processes, and trying to point my clients in the right direction as far as which way they want to go. And so are we just doing intros, or?
Yeah, just a quick intro. That way, everybody, thank you. Appreciate it. I'm going to go Mariette, and then Baravi, I'm going to bring to you. So Mariette, of course, thank you for helping also keep an eye on Facebook. I see you doing that. You're always awesome with it. You have been phenomenal about sharing great resources, different people throughout the community, because you seem to know just about everybody, which is awesome. And thank you for joining us, and tell us a little bit about you and what you've got going on right now.
Yeah, honestly, my goal is exactly that. I'm with Nellie, and I think Diane and every other person on this panel. is that, you know, we have to go above all the noise and we have to grab the good stuff. That's our job right now. And then hopefully compile it in a way that's as plain and simple as we can put it. And that's really my goal. I was just talking to my mom today and she's like, what have you been doing? I'm like, I've been spending 6 days, slept very little to compile like this huge list of good stuff for people that really need it. I mean, that's really what my goal is here and over the next few weeks for all of you guys.
Awesome. Thank you.
Harriet, you really put out a great post today. I have to say, if you could share that in the link, it was really awesome.
Please.
It was so clear. I want to thank you for that because it's really, if you're not on Marriott's constant contact or whatever you use, get on her newsletter list because it was really, really helpful and it's a good resource.
Okay, I'll share later on.
We also had a live stream, I think it was yesterday, which I completely support and agree that as accountants, look, we absolutely should be getting paid if we are going to be helping to fill in these forms. I don't think we should be overcharging or being exorbitant with charge, but this does take some time and there should be some form of compensation. And I really like the way that you would put that out there, Marriott. So thank you. I appreciate that.
So I want to comment on that, if I may.
Very quickly, because I'm going to introduce Baravi. So quick comment.
Go ahead. You can do that. And then we can comment on the fees because we've gotten some new developments on the fees.
As to what's even required. I would love to know about that. So that's great, actually. Now, so Baravi, you guys have probably heard me talk all the time about analytics. Baravi is actually our point of contact. She's my account manager. You cannot have her. If you try to, I will defriend you and there will be a whole bunch of other like bad things and bad juju. So she's mine. Analytics has been doing a lot of phenomenal stuff behind the scenes. They've actually put together a whole COVID response team, and they actually have been building out their website with additional content. They openly invite anybody and everybody who has good, valuable resources to submit it to their site, and they will share it openly with everybody. Baravi, I know I kind of told some of the stuff you're doing, but would you introduce yourself and what you guys have going on?
Absolutely. And thank you for all the good word. By the way, and I think Matthew has introduced me several times, just part of analytics, trying to help all of our clients right now. That was our first response, building the website, collecting all the resources. Behind the scene, we have team dedicated to each programs out there. So we divide and conquer, kind of grab as much as information as we could instead of everyone trying to grab all the information. At this point, I think the priority has become PPP just because time is in essence and there has been a cap. And again, as everyone said, there, guidelines are not still out there. Everything is changing every minute. But that's what we are trying to do, is just to keep all of our client in business and hopefully in return, we can put some purchasing power back in the economy and get the thing moving.
So Linda.
I was just going to say, and one of the great things about being a partner with analytics is that they are offering those services to our clients.
Yes.
So we have that extra bonus of being their client, and Baravi loves me best.
We'll let that one go. Okay. So Nellie, actually, I believe you're going to be, we have a question that I do want to come back to, but what you were about to talk on to, it sounds like, is something that everybody has been wondering. So I'm interested to hear what you've learned and how you learned it about what are people actually allowed to charge or not charge to help with these loan documents. Is that where you're going?
Yes. So there is, so really there's two SBA loan programs. That's the topic of this discussion. One is the EIDL, which stands for the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, which is directly an application that you can file through the SBA.gov. And as part of that, you can request up to a $10,000 free cash advance, which could be in the form of a grant. For that particular SBA loan, as a consultant, as a third-party agent, as an accountant, as a lawyer, if you're representing an applicant, you can charge a fee for that, for your time. Okay, there is no, as we hear it from the SBA, and as we're talking to our lawyers, there is no bar against charging. You just have to be very, very cognizant as to how much you're charging for that, because you don't want to appear as if you're monetizing in a time of crisis over people. As an accountant, you're in the best position right now. This is your time to shine. You know, and I'm talking to you as a consultant, as a mentor who mentors a lot of accountants in how they 10x their business revenues. As an accountant, CPA, tax advisor, this is your time to shine because your clients are going to need you more than ever. They're considering you as their best friend right now because you're the ones in charge of all their finances, their P&L, their balance sheets, their tax returns. So in my opinion, as an accountant, your time is here. Your time has arrived. You're sitting on a pot of gold, and you literally should not only be going out there and getting more clients, but your clients are going to be needing you even after being funded with the loans for cash flow management and all of that type of stuff. So with respect to the EIDL, you can charge a fee. With respect to the PPP, absolutely not. You cannot charge a fee upfront. This is specific SBA guidelines that says it in a fact sheet that we have it. I'd be more than happy to share it with all of you. You as an agent, as a third-party consultant, are not allowed to charge any fees upfront for the Paycheck Protection Program loan application. You as an account, go ahead.
No, but you can be compensated for doing the work.
Yes, you can. You can. And
what's
this
the short version of that? How does that work? Short version.
So as far as I'm concerned, as a third party SBA loan packager, we are not charging our clients upfront. We are basically letting them know that we are not charging any upfront fees for this service. Our fees are going to be compensated on the back end when the loan is funded.
Okay, so I'm going to pause that right there because that is a game of semantics, which I want to call into point. I'm not calling it out to your company, but look, so to summarize real quickly what was said there, EIDL, yes, you can charge to do this. It is important to understand that the SBA does have specific language in there that says the administrator, the administrator sets what they feel is the appropriate amount that could be deemed or could be charged. They talk about this is because an economic injury disaster loan has been in existence for a long time, hurricanes, earthquakes, everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And that scenario, if it's they call it a household or sole proprietor, the documented amount is, again, you have to check to make sure it's still valid. This time, $500. If it's a business entity, it's $2,500. So that is completely separate. And we're not talking about the 15-minute form that's existing online at this current moment.
You're absolutely correct.
Correct. So when we're talking about the Paycheck Protection Program, what she's saying is, as an accountant or somebody else, you cannot directly go to your client and say, by the way, we're going to charge you this much to do all this stuff. What can happen though is the lender can pay an agent should they wish to help pay for the agent's time. This is where some of the complexity comes into play because, not saying that all would do this, you have one side where the lender benefits from not paying an agent, but the agent benefits by being paid. So there's going to be a lot of confusion and gray areas. So if there's more to add than that, I'd say let's add on. But I think any further, we don't actually know. Anybody have anything to add specific to that?
Yes, may I add something?
Yes.
In talking to several banks and loan officers already locally, they don't really even know exactly what's going on yet. They're
Correct.
supposed to roll some of this out tomorrow for businesses, I believe in LLCs, not independent contractors. However, who I've talked to at banks, they don't know anything about an agent being allowed to be part of that yet. That is still to be determined. Some banks, I'm not trying to be hearsay, but like a big bank, I was also told is not willing to work with agents at all. So that I'm very curious to know about how that's going to be implemented because, we could bring a lot of business to some of our local banks, but the agent piece, even though it's on the lender PDF on the U.S. Treasury website about PPP, it is not, and it's also on the PPP application for an agent signature. It's not been determined which banks are going to, like you said, allow agents to participate. That's not across the board written in stone yet.
Perfect. So the suggestion that we have and what we're doing at Parkway is we've actually taken a list of all of our clients. We're actually marking down what are the different banks everybody's working with, because we're going to need to make sure we're going to try to batch them, right? We have to do this in the most intelligent way we can. Regardless of the pay side of it, I want to try to move on, if that's okay with everybody, to move over to what people need to know about filling out the applications and trying to help the small business owners push this stuff forward.
Matt, I just want to add one thing, if that's okay, really fast.
Of course.
And I think this is just community wise, and hopefully this is common sense. Like when we're talking about paying or billing for your time and work, especially with the Facebook Live that Matt was referring to yesterday, we're really just serving the client on what we should be doing anyway. So for instance, if we know we have to compile the paperwork, if we know we have to get their payroll and separate it into periods, if we know we have to do some calculations that we're already aware of, that's just part of our work anyway. So I'm not saying call that now a PPP fee. I'm saying call that a professional fee. Because
and I have to 100% agree here with yes, I have to 100% agree with that, because I will tell you, I had a client this morning whereby they had me on the phone for 2 hours, and what I said to them, and my consulting fee is $500 an hour, and you cannot tell them that you're charging them for the actual preparation of the PPP application, but you can charge them for your hours as you have been currently. Okay. So I'm 100% with you.
So I want to step away from that part and I want to get back to helping the community, if that's okay. But thank you. I agree. I really appreciate all of that. So we've had a couple questions that are inside the community here. Let me see. One of them was, okay. Boy, I should have it pulled up. There was, can a S-Corp owner who takes a salary apply for unemployment until PPP is approved? Does anybody have specific answers towards that? Can an S-Corp owner take a salary, who takes a salary, apply for unemployment until PPP is approved?
So taking out the until PPE is or PPP is approved part, I can tell you that as an S-Corp owner, I've certainly fired myself in the past because business had shrunk.
Yep.
And was able to collect unemployment I just went for the minimum period of time. Didn't bother with any extensions or anything like that. But I don't know how it ties into the PPP process, especially, since we're supposed to be hiring ourselves back on.
Ideally speaking, if PPP allowable cost is 75% payroll, and if you're not paying yourself out of that, anyways, it's not going to be allowable. So you possibly can take advantage of both.
I would agree with that. Diane, before I put my 2 cents in, did you have something you wanted to add to it?
As far as I'm concerned, if one works for themselves, whether they were on payroll or not, they can file now for self-employed unemployment. There's no jurisdiction in there saying,
good point.
Everything I've read on the EDD website, that you can still file a self-employed unemployment claim.
Okay. So what you're, to touch base on what you're talking about, it's actually, that is a great answer. A little bit different than the question, but that's wonderful input onto it. Part I wanted to touch on with the PPP is the PPP, you have even if you had people that were out on unemployment to begin with prior to this period of time. We talk about California a lot because California, New York, Washington impacted a little bit quicker. So long as you bring them back on under your employment again before June 30th, they will still count towards your head count. This all has to deal with the forgiveness portion of the PPP.
Correct. And if I might say, when you're compiling information for the PPP application, they're asking for 2019 annual info, and there will be a period of time where you have to reconcile that and show that your level of payroll hasn't gone down from what you submitted in your package, and any portion that has gone down will be turned into a loan, not a forgivable grant loan.
Is absolutely correct. And that's tied to full-time employee headcount or salary. If there's a reduction in salaried employees by more than 25%, there's also multiple different calculations, which we can't jump into quite yet, but people can reach out for that because it would take the whole time. Any other things to add to that? Or Linda, do you have any other questions that in the group that we should be asking?
There is one here from Laura Pinkington. She wanted to know the biggest question: are independent contractors included in the PPP calculation, payroll calculation? Independent contractors can apply for the PPP themselves, but how are businesses supposed to be able to continue to pay them and keep them working if they're not included in the loan amounts? Or should these costs be covered with the EIDL loans?
That is a great question. Nellie, you've got info on this?
Yes, so generally right now, as we are learning from the SBA guidelines, as it relates to the PPP, what is actually the formula, which is a very simple formula, is independent contractors cannot be considered as part of that payroll formula. It has to be someone who is on actual payroll receiving a salary. And as part of the PPP application, once it's submitted to the lender, the underwriting department of that lending bank is going to ask you for further documentation, confirming proof as to whatever you're providing as your average monthly payroll matches whatever your payroll records are.
Now, this is different. I want to make a major distinction. What we're not saying is independent contractors can apply for the PPP themselves. That's not the initial question that was being asked, but I want to make that distinction.
Correct.
Can the money you spent on independent contractors be included in your total payroll cost? And that they cannot. That's not part of payroll.
That is correct.
Linda, I can't hear you.
I said Diane would like to disagree with that.
Diane, that's fine. Actually,
Are you throwing me under the bus?
No, I was just reading your message in the chat.
I know Matt was talking about not having hearsay, but I read in several sources that I could provide that some independent contractors are allowed to be included if they are regularly providing their service to a company.
So that is the ability for them to actually apply for the PPP themselves?
They can apply, but I'm talking about to be included in the payroll cost with the package that's going to be submitted.
That is incorrect information that you're receiving.
Well, let's hold on. So I appreciate the input onto it. It's something that needs to be verified, and please feel free to share those sources into the group itself. The reason I paused on that is the language on the law, as we've gone through it with actually Jacob Schroeder and Kevin Trimesta, there's a question whether there's a typo of an and versus an or on the language. And that's why I wanted to pause it to where even myself, there's an aspect of this that it's conjecture, I think is the right way to say it, right? I don't know exactly for sure if that was a typo, what it's meant, because if there's an and, it changes the fundamental structure of that paragraph. So I would love to see the supporting information. I do believe that it's not able to be done that way, but let's see the supporting information.
So can I just say really quick, that being said, when I saw this written in several places on several sources, a red flag came up in my mind because the way it was worded was people that may be deemed to be employers, but are really independent contractors right now, which to me would just be a red flag with this whole AB thing that's going on, where they would try to get people who should be employees to be, you know what I'm saying? So
agreed. It's too
I would err on the side of caution, whatever the outcome of that is.
What do we got next, Linda? What other question?
Veronica Wasik said, how would we be able to calculate what the salaries or the money that we'd be paying to the subcontractors would be if you know they're not working? Let's see.
Yeah. See, I mean it's a great question, and and great discussion onto it, but fundamentally what it comes down to, I would say it's too easy to take advantage of and too easy to misrepresent. And that's why I default to it's not included.
I got a question from your mom.
Sure. Hi, Mom.
She said full-time employees, but not on salary, to be more clear. I don't know what we were talking about that time. What about hourly? What about
the head count, I think, is probably what she's referring to.
What about hourly permanent employees? That's what she said.
So the terminology permanent, because of my staffing days, they no longer use the word permanent because people sued and actually said, well, I thought I had a permanent job. So there are no such things as permanent employees anymore.
And then Lisa Voss Druta says, does the S-Corp owner, I probably just pronouncing your name, sorry, Lisa. Does this S-Corp owner who pays themselves apply for the EIDL loan without including their own wages as cost of goods sold, then apply for the PPP loan for the wages they pay themselves?
Boy, so now we're getting into the complexity of how do we mix and match and mold and blend.
Can I comment on that?
Yes, but I want to put the disclaimer that any of us that say any of this, I think there is an aspect, this is all opinion at this point, but let's open up to some opinions.
Yeah. So generally speaking, if you are an S corporation or an LLC or a business entity, and I'm going to focus on S corps for now, as a owner, shareholder of that S corporation, if you're actually on payroll and receiving a salary from that company, you can actually apply for both the EIDL and the PPP.
I will say that we are interpreting that is absolutely a possibility, but I am going to highlight that big time in red and say, I have not verified it. And if I could get my local SBDC, I hope you're watching this, to call me back, I could get some better answers to some people. Or if you have any other representative, if you want to get me in contact with them, please help me get in contact with some people that have some direct knowledge. Thank you.
So I think I agree with her that, you can apply for both, but it will still come back to the allowable expense. At some point in time, you will have to choose between which one you want to. So then it comes back to the $10,000 advance and just keep that and make it peace with it and just go with PPP.
I love that. An area that we were kind of questioning, because there's no question about the fact you cannot have duplicate values. You can't apply for duplication of like expenses. So the question becomes, well, what if I didn't duplicate anything, but I split certain expenses to an EIDL and then split other expenses, i.e. payroll, just to the PPP? That would not be a duplication of expenses.
No, it wouldn't. And it goes back to answering the question that somebody had earlier about, well, what about my independent contractors and how am I going to pay
operating costs? That would make sense there. That's a good point. Linda, did you have something you wanted to add there?
I'm just saying hi, Mom.
Oh, okay. That is, again, this is opinions, but I could definitely see what you're talking about there. That absolutely, those would be operating costs, which are able to be covered under the EIDL. And some other quick specifics. And Linda, do you have another quick question ready for us? So people keep asking those questions. We love them. EIDL, 30-year loan. 3.75% for for-profit business, 2.75% for nonprofit business. None of it is forgivable. It's your loan, your loan, your loan.
That is correct.
You can apply for the 10K while you're making the initial application portion. It will ask you if you want a $10,000 advance on that, which everybody is touting as it. I should add up to 10,000. Everybody's touting it as a grant. The understanding of it is that if you are declined or denied for the EIDL, that will become a grant. If you were to choose to apply for a PPP, the total PPP would be reduced by that 10,000, and again, up to, depending on whatever you received, and that would be considered a grant at that point. The area that's confusing is it doesn't actually say if you accepted the EIDL loan that it would be granted. Doesn't say that. So just be cognizant of that as well. Did I miss any of that stuff, Greg?
No, I think I'm just pulling up the EIDL section right now. Just, does it say in here? Oh yeah, use of funds.
So other areas, if there's other questions, please ask them in, but otherwise I'm going to share some other concepts or ways to get some money back into the pocket of the small business owner. I like that music. Depending on the state you live in, this is going to vary from state to state to state, but this is just as important as this stuff, right? Let's talk about payroll. You guys may have seen a video I posted just recently talking about if you have I'm going to call it full service payroll providers. If they're taking the money for payroll and taxes at the exact same time, you should already be in contact with them if your state allows for a deferral of payroll taxes. In other words, you want to make sure that they're not taking those payroll tax dollars. If you're trying to keep it in the bank, you need to start that dialogue and start doing that right away. In California specifically, it requires us to do a specific letter to notify not only the state, but we use Intuit Payroll to notify Intuit also. I heard hearsay is not supposed to happen. If somebody can confirm it, that Gusto has now added a checkbox that will help eliminate that challenge to where they will know to hold back the payroll taxes. Can't confirm it because it's all hearsay. ADP is doing a great job on their Accountant Connect and adding on new reporting that will help you better track the FFCRA as well. So all of these companies are, I mean, they're trying to get in front of it, but they're just as blindsided. But you need to start your dialogue. I mean, this is probably the first week, not for everybody, but for a lot of people where payroll is really coming into play and they're trying to find the money to do this stuff, which is why I wanted to bring it up. Any other tips from other people on how to get money back in the pockets of the business owners quickly?
I'm on Gusto's website right now, and there's a link to contact us for requesting unemployment tax payment deferrals. But it's not quite as easy as you and I were led to believe that was just a radio button.
The state of California makes, again, sorry, I can't talk about every other state, but the state of California, it's tough. It's not just like, oh, hey, wiggle your nose and all of a sudden it's good to go. You're going to jump through hoops. We are already doing everything we can to start planning this for all of our clients because we're running payroll already. Yes, Nellie.
So in dealing with and being in contact with both the CEO and the VP of B of A, there is a third option that can get immediate cash into the small business owner's pocket if they're really scrambling. And it's called what is called the Small Business Express Loan Package, which is done directly through your bank. And this is a type of loan that you can actually get your hands on immediate funding within 2 to 3 weeks. They're going to need to see financials from the applicant, but you can, before this passage of this 325 CARES Act that came into play, it was up to a maximum of $350,000, and now it has been increased to $1 million.
Now, those advanced ones, though, require that you already have an existing relationship with the SBA and they already have your paperwork on file, if I remember correctly, correct?
Actually, no, this doesn't even require you to have any type of relationship with the SBA. This is directly with your bank. For example, with us, because I've actually applied for this as we speak, and I've qualified myself. It's directly through your bank, and it's just a different type of SBA loan assistance. It's a full-on loan. It's capped, I believe, at 4% interest rate. The repayment is over 7 years, and it's based on your gross revenues and your cost of goods sold. And they will approve you, and that's another way that small business owners can get immediate cash into their pocket.
Do you know, will that impact their ability to apply for the EIDL or the PPP?
Nope, absolutely not. That is an actual fact.
Okay. So good information to look into.
Because I've applied for both. I've applied for both, and we're actually in the process of getting our $10,000 as we speak, and it's coming from the U.S. Treasury. So this is actual fact. You know, it's coming. People think it's too good to be true. I mean, of course, there's a lot of, discrepancies on the SBA website, but we actually talked to an SBA rep yesterday for 2 hours, and the $10,000 is a flat $10,000. Some portions of the SBA website will say up to, but we actually, after holding on the line for about an hour, we got in touch with an SBA rep, and we confirmed all these questions that were kind of gray areas for us. And
I'm coming to see you if I get less than 10K. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, listen, it's according to the SBA. So
Well, look, I mean, that's the best for everybody. So fingers crossed on that. And
yes.
we're all, the intention again of all of this stuff is we're all in the same place. So I really, first, I want to say thank you to everybody for jumping in and joining in. I also want to apologize because I know I'm being much more direct than I normally am. I do it with the right intention just to try to control the stream of information and get it out there. But so thank you for your patience on that side of it. Linda, any other last questions?
Teresa Steeler said her understanding is that only payroll taxes that would be deferred is state unemployment. That's the only payroll taxes that will be deferred.
So so federal would not be, but the state, again, that's going to be varied state by state by state. Yeah, Dan,
Oh, we can't hear you,
I
Diane.
got you. 1 second.
Mute myself. I'm unmuted. I'm
Thank
sorry.
you for that.
Depending on what specifically she's talking about in a deferral, there's two things going on. In determining payroll costs, you're not allowed to include federal and Medicare employer costs, but you are allowed to include SUI and ETT state costs. In terms of a deferral, there is a federal tax deferral going on that was part of the CARES Act, where employers are allowed to defer their federal and Medicare employer portion of their taxes, I believe, till the end of the year and possibly till 2021. That is listed in one of the things happening with the CARES Act in terms of a deferral of payroll taxes.
Beautiful. I thought I saw something with that as well, but I don't know for sure. So that's definitely something I will look into as well. But thank you for that extra insight on that. But again, every state to state's different. Definitely look at that. So
Matt, I wanted to just throw a couple things in regards to injecting cash, like quick cash.
Please.
So one, and these are real obvious, but let me just throw them out there. The first one is we know that our individual payments are coming, our $1,200 and our $2,400. If you qualify, obviously, you know that there's thresholds. I mean, that's money coming to you from the IRS within the next few weeks. I think they're sending out like 5 million checks a week, and they're trying to get them out within the next 3 to 4 weeks. So if you qualify for the economic payments as individuals, your own individual tax relief, we know that, I mean, I know I work with a lot of solopreneurs, so they are basically personally trying to survive. So keep in mind, those checks may be coming in the mail, also coming direct deposit, hopefully.
Yep.
This is really important. If your parents, a lot of us have parents that are older that may be on Social Security, talk to them because their checks are also coming. And something that just got mentioned yesterday on the IRS website is that we were actually telling our parents to file a return, even if they just had Social Security. They no longer have to file a return. They're going to get their payments because the Social Security office and the IRS are now talking to each other, and they're going to go ahead and look at their Social Security documents and then give them their payments based on their Social Security amounts. So let your parents know that. And it's really important because a lot of our parents are also needing to and pay their bills. And so let them know that they need to look at how they actually get their regular benefits. So some of them may get mailed checks. Unfortunately, they're going to get a mailed payment. If they're on direct deposit with Social Security office, then they're going to get their money through direct deposit. So tell them to look out for that. The other one I want to mention is that, especially for the freelance solopreneur community, a lot of you are involved in other type of communities. Maybe you're involved in Upwork or Freelancer Union. A lot of these organizations are actually creating funds to help you. One example is the Freelancer Union is going to give up to $1,000 to freelancers that qualify. And essentially all you got to share is that you're a freelancer and that you're struggling, and you may qualify for $1,000 from this union. So keep an eye out for those organizations, because a lot of organizations are trying to crowdfund and get donations and then give it back to the community. So just really keep in mind and like read your emails. Like, I know it's hard to read them, but read your emails, because that's really how we're trying to provide you all this information.
Intuit's doing their whole GoFundMe thing.
Yes.
Good one.
Facebook.
Facebook, yes.
Facebook is doing one too. Amazon is doing another
Nice.
one.
Yes.
Google AdWords is actually, and I heard this one from Latino Tax Pros, they're actually, they're setting up where they're doing free credits to people's accounts that have been using Google AdWords. They'll give you free credits on your account to continue marketing, which is great.
I can confirm to this.
Beautiful.
Yes.
I mean,
it is
all of those things.
absolutely accurate.
Anybody who knows any of those type of programs, please put them in the comments of the video. Let's make sure everybody's sharing them. We're telling each other about it. Those little details can make all the difference in the world. Any other last ones? Linda, any?
Just Lisa again says, what if the independent contractor has an annual contract for a monthly amount? Could that be included in the PPP loan?
So you're talking about at the independent contractor side of it, or the actual, if it's on the independent contractor side, that would be part of their revenues. I guess the real question, cash or accrual, right? I honestly don't know the answer to that. Is it cash or accrual? If it's, how would that be considered?
I would say it would be cash basis. Accrual is stuff that hasn't even
Okay.
happened yet.
And
Because
then
revenue recognition, all that stuff, but we'll leave that for a different year,
I
hopefully.
wanted to know what the name of the loan that Nellie was speaking of. Does it have a name? Somebody said
It's
it.
the Express loan. It's a special
It's the
subsection.
SBA Express
SBA
loan
Express
package.
That's what she said.
We do not provide that service through our company. What we can provide, both accountants, everybody, is the EIDL and the PPP. And there is speaking to what Diane was saying earlier as to, banks are kind of scrambling around, kind of finding out what, is going on. I can attest to that because even ourselves, banking with B of A, we've been in touch with our banker and they don't know what's going on. I mean, they just sent us the application form and they're saying it's being opened up tomorrow, which is April 3rd. However, that being said, we have a direct partnership with a lending institution that specializes in PPP funding. And
Hold on. How is that possible if nothing's out yet? How can you claim that if it's not even out yet?
because there are smaller banks that are doing this based on volume and they work directly with the SBA. See, here's the thing with B of A and the larger banks. Larger banks don't want to do this, okay? It's time consuming, and the majority of small business owners who are wanting to apply for the PPP, I mean, let's get serious. We're talking average payroll of maybe 10,000, 15,000 per month. So, a bank like B of
Money's
A,
not in it.
yeah, they're not in it. But then you have these smaller banks that are accredited by the SBA and are doing these on volume. And
We'll see that stuff come out.
yeah,
So,
yeah, absolutely.
so real quickly, and then I'm going to close it down. Linda, did you want to add anything else? Any comments, any of that kind of stuff?
Well, the question Lisa was asking, that wasn't from the independent contractor
From the
side,
business
of the business side, yeah.
Yeah.
So on the business side, from what we're understanding, the independent contractor stuff cannot be part of the PPP. However, we are suggesting you should look into whether it will be able to be used on the EIDL. So to close it down, again, thank you everybody for being part of this. Ultimately, all of the information we've tried to provide during this time, it was done with the intention of being helpful and pushing things forward. What is going to happen no matter what is if you've done the process to submit on the EIDL or so forth, you are going to have a direct person, I'm going to say agent's not the right word on the PPP, lender, somebody on the other side of those documents that's going to be there to help you. Hopefully this has given you enough guidance to get you more informed to ask the right questions of the appropriate people so you all can succeed through the process. I implore everybody out there, do your best to eliminate the hearsay right now. Hearsay is the exact thing that can kill a small business. If a person hears the wrong thing, they do the wrong step, you can actually harm their business. So please, let's work together, get good resources out there. As I always believe, it's through this that together we all will succeed. So thank you guys so much for joining in today.
Thank you, Matthew.
Bye, guys.
Thank you so much.